What is the ceiling for the Minnesota Timberwolves in this upcoming season? I want to dive into that in this video. But before I do, we got to pay these bills. This video is brought to you by Bridges and Stones Family and Relationship Care. If someone you know and care for is struggling with their mental health or relationship, go to bridgesandstones.com and contact them for your free consultation today. One brave act today can create a better tomorrow. Remember, none of us make it alone. The link is in the description box below. When I looked at the Minnesota Timberwolves before this recent trade, I knew they were going to be good, but a lot of you know I don't have any faith in Karl Anthony Towns. Not saying he's not talented. I'm just saying his talent doesn't always translate to winning because of his lack of IQ and some kind of internal processing character issues. It's not that he's a bad guy, but more so like you kind of can't get right. You know what I mean? Like when the moment comes and we need you to be that guy, you end up being the other guy. You end up being the guy that we go like, huh? How you got 5 fouls so fast? Why are you fouling out? And we need you in the game. You know what I mean? Like, why'd you take that shot? And we have plenty of time on the shot clock and the lead with only a minute to go. Like why? Like, you just head scratches, right? But since this trade, insert Dante DeVincenzo, who is definitely needed, especially after Kyle Anderson left. And then you insert Julius Randle. And I begin to look at this team and I begin to recognize that it has a couple of components that it did not have before. One of the factors that you need for a team that is truly trying to do something big in the playoffs is you have to have 2 guys, not just one guy. You got to have 2 guys. You got to have 2 guys who are simply better than the rest, who have the ability to take over games, who have the ability to carry the team for stretches. This allows maybe your number 1 to get a little rest while number 2 is getting it going. There's times where number 2 is going to propel you in a way that allows you to get past everyone else, and then all of a sudden your star, your superstar, your number 1 takes you to the promised land, takes you on home, right? And I think at their best case scenario, that's what Julius Randle can be. Now, I know a lot of you can look to his recent playoff appearances and be like, I don't know. And I'm going to be honest, I don't necessarily know either, but I said best case scenario. Best case scenario. One, I really appreciate that Julius Randle is stepping into a team. I believe Fred Finch used to coach him when he was in New Orleans, when he actually had his breakout in the NBA. It wasn't in New York. It was a season prior in New Orleans where he was able to play extremely efficient basketball that was able to highlight a lot of his strengths. He's been working on his game. He was healthy, and now he had a coach who had the scheme to put him in play, and he had a lot of success. And that carried over into his run with the New York Knicks, where he was All-NBA 2 years and multiple-time All-Star. It tells you what his talent is. If you ever remember him coming out of high school, he was a man-child with phenomenal touch. Just kind of think Zion Williamson, who doesn't have a problem staying in shape. The only difference is internally, mentally, he's not built like Zion. Zion doesn't lose confidence. Zion doesn't see anyone in front of him that he goes, oh, you're better than me. I'm not saying Julius Randle does, but I'm saying sometimes he can waver a little bit. But all that's to say, we're talking about best case scenario. You're looking at somebody who's a 20-plus points per game scorer, somebody you cannot guard one-on-one. He's a mismatch problem. And I know a lot of people are going to point to his lack of three-point accuracy and look at what he did a couple seasons ago as an aberration and say, hey, that's not necessarily who he is as a shooter. But whether he is this 40-plus point per game, 40-plus percentage points. How would you say it? He shoot 40% better from the three-point line, right? Even if he's not that, he's still someone with such downhill force that you cannot lay off of him. Similar to DeMar DeRozan, you have to guard up all the way on that three-point line, because if you don't, he has the ability to take one dribble and get downhill with such force that he's going to go through whoever's standing in front of him. And he's going to get all the way to the rim and finish. And he's an excellent finisher. he gets to the free throw line at a high level. So it's to say that he is somebody who's able to have a level of gravity. And I've talked about this before in previous videos, where he is able to actually shift the defense to him, which is going to free Anthony Edwards. And this is the next part of it. Anthony Edwards is ready for his ascension. Playing for Team USA, we all know what that does for athletes, especially the best of them. When they play alongside the greats, something rubs off on them. Something gets stirred inside of them. There's a certain level of work ethic and mindset and mentality and way they see the game and their outlook for winning. It just shifts. It changes. And I think that has happened for Anthony Edwards. I think he's ready to come back this year and not just be a great player, but ready to be a leader. He's ready to lead. He's ready to tell Julius Randle, hey, I got this. I got this. You don't have to be a leader. You don't have to be the guy standing in front of the microphones and explain everything. I've got that. On top of that, I can also direct my team. I can make sure that we are in position. And I can hold myself accountable to make winning plays when it matters the most. Now, the next thing that I also want to talk about is Dante DeVincenzo and the impact that he's going to have. Dante DeVincenzo is one of those players who always seems to know the right thing to do. He is a winner. He's a guy who can shoot at a high clip when it matters the most. He's athletic. He's got a good first step, strong handle. He can play make for himself and others. And he has the ability to kind of slide into that other guard position in the playoffs when it matters the most. And you can sit Mike Conley down because he is a bit older. And he does get targeted a bit on defense. And you can bring in 6'3", 6'4" Dante DeVincenzo, who's more physical, athletic, better lateral mobility at this stage in his career. He can shoot, and most importantly, he plays off of Anthony Edwards extremely well. Then when you throw in Julius Randle, you have the opportunity to now have several players who can play make for themselves and others. And then when you need to in a pinch, you can bring in Naz Reid to play some center. And I say in a pinch because Rudy Gobert is still one of the most dominant defensive players in the game. People forget you actually got to play both ends of the court. You got to play defense too. People don't get to the NBA Finals without being great defensive teams. It just doesn't happen. Just look at the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks. They took huge strides, especially the Dallas Mavericks after their trade to get P.J. Washington and the like. All that's to say is you've got to hold down that end too. And with Julius Randle there in place, and Anthony Edwards, you now have a team, and Dante DeVincenzo coming off the bench, you now have a team that can carry enough offense to where Rudy Gobert's limitations offensively aren't as glaring. Now, I know a lot of people think that Rudy Gobert gets eaten up in one-on-one situations in the playoffs on the perimeter. He actually statistically does very well. And with guys like Jalen McDaniels, guys like Anthony Edwards, Dante DeVincenzo, he's going to be insulated even more, which means that he has the ability to take more gambles. He has the ability to go after it a little bit more. And because of Julius Randle's defensive rebounding abilities, he can go after those blocks all the more, which is going to bode well for this defense. And now some of the X factors. You got guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker coming back from the Olympics. You got guys like Rob Dillingham coming in from Kentucky who looks like a walking bucket. You've got other pieces. Luka Garza, who looks ready finally. I mean, he looks in great, phenomenal shape. But he looks like he's shored up enough of where to be defensively so he can give you that Nikola Jokic level effort defensively. He's never going to be great defensively, but he understands where to be, and he's going to get there on time. He's going to communicate. He's going to talk. He's going to do the different things that he needs to do to not be a exploitable hole defensively, while at the same time being able to give you a high-level offensive impact, similar to Naz Reid. Luka Garza can go out there and shoot threes. He can hit jump shots. He can get you in the post, get you a little jump hook over both shoulders. He can give you offense. And so when you look at this type of a team, and I don't want to leave out Josh Minot. Somebody corrected me on the enunciation of his name, and so I want to make sure that I pronounce it correctly. Josh Minot for the Minnesota Timberwolves, who looks really good. 6'7", athletic, scorer, two-way guy, get up and down the court. I think he could be a huge piece for this team if what he's doing in preseason carries into the regular season. I think that's going to give them depth of size and athleticism and length on the wings coming off the bench, which is going to allow this team to stay fresh. And that is essential when you want to make a deep playoff run. So what do I see as the best case scenario for the Minnesota Timberwolves? I think they could get into the NBA Finals. I think this team can get into the NBA Finals. I know people might think, oh, that's absurd. You still got the Dallas Mavericks, and you still got the Denver Nuggets, and you still got these other teams, and you're right. But you have to understand, getting into the playoffs, you want certain things in place. A high-level 1 and 2 option, they've got that. You need to have depth so you can stay fresh for a deep playoff run. They've got that. They've got really good coaching. You want to make sure that you have experience. They've got that. And then you've got to be lucky. You've got to be lucky. You got to have some things aligned for you that allows you to maybe bypass a tough opponent in the first round, right? Sweep them out of there, gentleman sweep, and all of a sudden, now you got an extra rest going to the second round. More time to prepare, staying even healthier, right? That sets up a really good second round. You get them out of there in 6. You get to that third round, it might go 7. It probably goes 7. But you've still been able to preserve your legs. And then when you get to the finals, who knows, right? Who knows? But as I say, I think that's the outcome. That is the outlook. That's the outlook, not the outcome. I don't know that yet. But the outlook for the Minnesota Timberwolves next season. But as always, I want to know what you all think. Do you agree, disagree? Get at me in the comment section. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Definitely drop this video in your group chats and get at me in the comment section. I'm going to get at y'all there. Peace.